folks, Street Fighter 4 Seth, and we're talking original Street Fighter 4, vanilla Street Fighter 4, the very first version from 2009. Seth is an extremely imbalanced character. You know, I think a lot of people, when they think back to this version of Street Fighter 4, they think about this character being really overpowered. Sagat, vanilla Sagat is like really legendary. He's got this DP, FADC, forward heavy kick, ultra ridiculous damage. I mean, wait, how much is this about? Did you see that damage? So yeah, people remember Sagat as being the most overpowered character, but what if I was to tell you that Seth is arguably even better than Sagat in this version, and he actually, in my opinion, has a good matchup against Sagat. He does really well at fighting this legendarily overpowered character. So I'm going to talk about why. Let's run through all the reasons why Seth is extremely poorly balanced. Okay, so first up, Seth, he's got these Dhalsim limbs, right? You know, Seth, his whole deal is that his moves come from different characters. So he's got a Sonic Boom, he's got a Shoryuken, he's got the Abel / Urian, a down heavy punch launcher. So yeah, he steals all the characters' moves, and he stole Dhalsim's heavy punches. So he's got the standing heavy punch and he's got the jumping heavy punch, but this is actually way better than Dhalsim. And the reason for that is you can see Dhalsim's jump is very, very floaty. So if Dhalsim wants to like jump around and throw out these fierce punches, you know, he's kind of like, he's kind of stuck recovering from that very slow jump. He's going to be way more vulnerable to anti-airs. And if Dhalsim's going to go for the yoga sniper, that's what we call it, where he jumps and like instantly hits you overhead, you know, he is going to be very vulnerable as he's coming down because his jump is so slow. Seth does not have this problem. Seth has a fast jump. So Seth can just do this. He can do it very fast, and he is very, very hard to punish it. You can drag and punch him out of it, but that's about it. So this was an insane keep away tool. You could just put up a wall and it would be very, very hard to get in on Seth. This was, in my opinion, so toxic and so broken of a thing for a character like Seth to have, that if we go forward in time to Arcade Edition, they actually straight up removed this move. This move just literally does not exist. There's no way for him to access it. He has no yoga sniper anymore. He still has this, which is still solid, but yeah, this move, you know, it's a bit easier to whiff punish. You can beat it with focus attack and stuff like that. So standing heavy punch is still a good move, but jumping heavy punch was the real problem. So they had to get rid of that real quick. So vanilla Seth, he had the long range. He has a very good fireball. He can poke you from near full screen. So he was a really good keep away character. But not only that, he also has spinning pile driver. So he stole this from Zangief. He's got the Zangief SPD. You can see the damage is not particularly high. The damage is rather low, but it does have a big advantage over Zangief spinning pile driver. And that's going to be what he can do to you on wake up afterwards. So, you know, Zangief, he lands the spinning pile driver and then he's full screen. He has to green hand to close the gap. And then he's basically just standing next to you. So, you know, he can either hit you or he can try to throw you. That's pretty much all Zangief can go for after spinning pile driver. He gets in and then it's either guess, throw. But, you know, the issue with this is that, you know, after Zangief lands this, he's going to come up with the green hand. We can just drag and punch him out of it, right? Invincible reversals, they're going to beat both the strike and the throw, so you'll get out of it. But Seth is much luckier. When Seth lands a spinning pile driver, he has a lot more time. So he can dash up, and he can even go for setups that will beat this reversal dragon punch. And he actually has way more options than just that. So obviously he can go for like a cross up there, but he can be very tricky and use his dive kick to stay on the front. He can whiff his dive kick and use that to go for SPD with very tricky timing. He can just do regular empty jump SPD. It'll be auto timed because they're expecting a safe jump. And so it's very likely for Seth that when he lands this SPD, he's either going to get a combo on you or he's going to utilize this knockdown to land another SPD on you and put you back into the same vortex. So his knockdown off of this SPD, it's untechable, so they're gonna have to take the mix and they are gonna get put in the vortex. Okay, so that's his primary offensive loop, is he wants to get you in a knockdown and just keep mixing you up over and over. But let's talk about his defense as well, because his defense in terms of his reversals were actually some of the best in the game as well. So some of you might know that Street Fighter 4 was the game that had Focus Attack Dash Cancel, FADC, which let you spend 2 meters to cancel your Dragon Punch. So you could essentially do an invincible reversal that would be safe on block. But not only that, Seth can actually option select this. So you can see I've set Ryu to random guard. So he's gonna block about 50% of the time. And if he blocks, I'll automatically FADC. And if he doesn't block, I won't get the FADC. So I only spend 50 meter if he actually blocks. So I get an invincible safe reversal that only spends the meter on block. On hit, it'll just blast him. So that is just ridiculous. But not only that, Seth also had another reversal, which was his teleport. So, you know, they gave him Dalsum teleport as well as Dalsum limbs. So he can escape all kinds of bad situations utilizing this teleport if he doesn't have to worry about spending meter to make DP safe. So there are, of course, a lot of anti-teleport option selects in this game. So there are ways that you can automatically track down the teleport and stop them from using it. But most of those option selects are going to lose to good old-fashioned wake up DP. So there are very, very few things that you can do that will cover both the option of wake up teleport and the option of wake up DP. So his wake up is really slippery, really hard to deal with, and it is going to be a nightmare for most of the cast to pressure him. Speaking of pressure, God forbid you ever try to stick Seth in the corner and not let him leave, because Seth has one of the best corner escapes in the game, and it's his wall jump. Seth's wall jump is an absolutely degenerate move. So as you can see, it is very, very easy for him to escape out of the corner with this. Like, even if you're way out there, he just says no, he's out of there. And his jump heavy kick was a really big cross up hurt box, so he could cross you up really easily with this move. So if you're like chilling way back here trying to block his corner escapes, you still kind of have to worry about cross up jumping heavy kick on the way down. So that was really crazy. This is also a ridiculously good fireball punish as well. If he had the read on your fireball, he could punish it from way downtown, pretty much anywhere on screen. He can go for this and get in on you for throwing a fireball. He has multiple other fireball punishes as well. So his EX quarter circle back kicks is just always going to punish fireballs. Really easy to do on reaction. And even more importantly, his Ultra 1 punishes fireballs super easily. And in my opinion, Seth Ultra 1 might be the best Ultra in Street Fighter 4. So I'm going to explain all that in just a second. But as you can see, not only was Seth extremely good against slow characters like Zangief, Abel, E Honda, those characters had a really hard time getting close to him because he has these massive normals and he has a really good fireball. And even if they chase him down to the corner, he can just escape the corner with one wall jump. So really good against slower characters, but really good against fireball zoners as well. You know, it's really hard to play the fireball war with Seth because he has so many good anti-fireball tools. So just good in a large amount of matchups. And even Sagat, one of the villains of SF4, wall jump was just ridiculous against Sagat. I didn't even mention you can do stuff like this to bait the Dragon Punch. You know, if they try to Dragon Punch you out of the air after you wall jump, just do dive kick, you'll land in front of them, the Dragon Punch will miss. So yeah, super, super powerful. Let's go more in depth with his Ultra. So in my opinion, this is probably the #1 reason why I feel Seth is a broken character. As you can see, this Ultra doesn't do that much damage. In fact, it does pretty low damage. That 340 damage fully charged, which is not a lot at all. But the good thing about this is that you get a good setup afterwards. So whenever you land this Ultra, all you have to do is throw a fireball and then teleport, and you essentially get a 50-50 mix-up that the opponent has to deal with. Left or right, you can teleport to the front or the back. They're going to have to block the fireball correctly, and if they don't, you just get another hit. And even if they do block the fireball correctly, well, guess what? You're still up close to Seth, where he's going to try to mix you up and put you in yet another bad situation where you're going to have to guess. So, yeah, he lands the Ultra, and then it is essentially party time, and he's just going to get a huge amount of momentum anytime he lands it. So let's talk about why it's so easy for him to land his Ultra. As I mentioned, it is a full screen fireball punish, and it's just super real. So if they do basically like any move from full screen that's reactable, yeah, you just do this and it's just guaranteed to work. So that's really good. But what's really ridiculous about Seth's Ultra is his fireball Ultra trap. So you can see Seth can create this situation where he puts a fireball out on screen, and if you do anything to get around the fireball, you'll get hit by Ultra. So if you jump the fireball, you eat Ultra. If you focus absorb the fireball, you eat Ultra. You can't block there. If you try to fireball war and beat it with a multi-hit fireball, you're probably eating Ultra for that. If you try to use an anti-fireball tool like Zangief Lariat or EX Green Hand or any kind of armored attack, Ultra just works. Even an anti-fireball Ultra like Chun-Li in this situation, you can see she just gets ultra'd. So yeah, pretty good. So Seth can create these really unfair situations where he sends you full screen and he says, I'm just gonna throw fireballs. And you kind of just have to take it. Because as soon as you decide, okay, I'm gonna jump the fireball, guess what? You're getting ultra'd. Which sends you full screen again and allows him to set up some really ridiculous mix-ups. So yeah, this was just super unfair. So in Super Street Fighter 4, they just deleted this from existence. It is no longer possible to ultra at all while you have a fireball on screen. No matter what you do, you will never be able to get ultra to come out. I can only get super here. And if I don't have meter, you can say I just get teleport, or you might get like EXDP if you have 1 meter. So yeah, it is physically impossible to ultra while you have a fireball on the screen. You have to wait till the fireball has dissipated and then you will be allowed to ultra. So yeah, this was a much needed nerf because this was really unfair and imbalanced in vanilla. Especially again, when you consider that you're gonna get the knockdown, you're gonna get the setup, that's going to lead into another knockdown. You're going to be building meter all this time and just continuing the vortex forever. Speaking of vortex, Seth has another aspect to his mix-up game that I haven't mentioned yet, which is his head stomp reset. So I'd say in modern times, this is probably what Seth is most well known for. You've seen people like Punko and Online Tony do this situation where essentially you combo them into the head stomp, and then as the opponent is landing from this, they're essentially gonna have to guess left, right. They're gonna have to guess strike versus SPD. You can even get really tricky and do stuff like this, and all of a sudden it becomes like a fake cross up, same side. Also, you can empty jump dive kick into SPD. So yeah, when you land these stomps, when you land any kind of situation into the stomps into dive kick, yeah, things are not looking fun for the opponent. They are well and truly in the mix and are gonna have to find their way out. And in the corner, this becomes even easier because now all of a sudden his quarter circle back kick combo ender, this is kind of his go-to combo ender. This usually sends them full screen, but in the corner it puts them in a juggle state, so he gets this mix up again and he can cross under in the corner and just be really, really, truly nasty with it. And the fact that he basically just gets this off any hit, if he's in the corner, he could just go straight into this. And yeah, it's time to guess, buddy. It's time to guess. It's so strong. He also has one more special move that is extremely powerful, which is the Tandem Engine. So you can see this attack, it pulls the opponent in. So you're going to be plus frames here. So if they block this, it is not their turn to press buttons. So you can kind of create an infinite pressure type situation. You know, you can just keep doing this and you'll be plus forever. And obviously, anytime you're plus, the opponent has to kind of be scared about SPD. So that's a thing. Obviously, this move does carry a good degree of risk because if the opponent is airborne, they are immune to it, so they can jump over this and just full combo you. But if you're staying unpredictable, you know, you can do stuff like this, cancel into fireball to catch them out of jump startup. A lot of people will just do this, a staggered DP, which then leads into stomps, into a reset. Or to be honest, you can just do this, right? You can just neutral jump or jump back and control space with his jump heavy punch. So yeah, like, Seth is so in control once he's in on you, and he can really just create infinite pressure using the Tandem Engine as well. So it's just a lot to keep track of. And EX Tandem Engine is another very interesting move. You can see it costs 2 bars. As far as I know, this is the only EX move in the game that costs 2 bars. You know, normally EX special moves only cost 1. But what's really interesting about EX Tandem Engine is that it will restand the opponent. Check this out. You can see we can take them from a juggle to a standing position, which this is obviously a really dangerous mechanic. In any fighting game where you can restand the opponent, that tends to be a pretty overpowered strategy because you can stand the opponent back up and then all of a sudden you can do ground combos again. So this greatly increases your combo potential. Or of course, with a character like Seth, this stands them back up so they can be thrown again. So yeah, this is really, really powerful. And if you ever, for any reason, land Seth's EX Dragon Punch, like even as a wake up or whatever, you can just go straight into EX Tandem Engine off this. So you might think like, wow, that's way too much meter, right? 3 meters just to get a combo off of an EX Dragon Punch. But if you think about it, you know, let's say you land this, you launch the opponent, restand them, let's continue the combo, end it with some head stomps, go for a reset, and then we grab them. And now watch, all of a sudden, we've built back like a bar and a fifth already. So we built back nearly half the meter that we spent on that. Plus, you know, we just landed SPD, and like we talked about, you know, after this, he gets kind of a guaranteed safe jump. He can go for, you know, this type of thing and keep the opponent guessing. And you can just see, you start building the meter back really, really quickly. Plus, if we add up all the damage, you know, this combo itself, just off of the EXDP, that did 37%. And, you know, plus the SPD does 130. So all of a sudden, that's 50%. And it's still Seth's turn. So, yeah, like the reward here is just ridiculous. Yes, Seth is a pretty low damage character, right? You know, you can see this only does 130, which, you know, 13% is not a lot for a command grab. But one thing he does do a lot of is stun. I mean, you can see just this basic B&B did 45% stun. But, you know, SPD does 20% stun. So that's pretty serious. And then, you know, obviously you get the cross up afterwards. If that hits, you're going to do big damage. You can teleport the follow up, land a couple hits, and then all of a sudden they're stunned. And, you know, when Seth gets stunned, he's going to push you into the corner. He's going to do this nonsense, go back into a reset. So, you know, each individual hit is not doing that much damage, but you're just in such a bad guessing situation every time you get a hit from Seth. That it's a real nightmare. I mean, we've seen this with players like Punko. Punko really only blew up with Seth after vanilla, around the time of AE, when they had already removed the really broken aspects of the character, like jumping heavy punch and his ultra trap. So the fact that he has all this mix-up potential and stuff that still exists in the game, plus these really overpowered options that were deleted from the game, in my opinion, that is why Seth is so ridiculously overpowered and poorly balanced. But that's not to say Seth doesn't have issues, right? Definitely Seth's biggest issue is his health total. So he only has 750 health, lowest in the game. As you can see, Sagat DP FADC Ultra does like 80-90% on Seth, since Sagat, that combo I think does 65% to a normal character already. So yes, his health is really low, which makes him really unforgiving. But not only that, his stun bar is really low as well. You can see he only has 750 stun. So, you know, we got this jumping heavy punch that's so hard to deal with. But if he gets one counter hit headbutt from Zangief, he's instantly stunned, and of course, he's going to take well over 50% from that. One Zangief fully charged Ultra. I mean, let's just see how much damage this does. Yeah, 600 damage, which is, what, 80%, 85% on Seth. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. So he's a very unforgiving character to play. You can't make very many mistakes, but I always feel like these type of characters, eventually the health ends up not being that big of an issue because people just get better and they stop getting hit by random stuff. You know, we have like Zero in Ultra Marvel vs. Capcom 3, one of the lowest health characters in the game. He dies in like one hit, but he's still top tier because you just never get hit because you control neutral that effectively. And I feel like Seth kind of falls into that category as well. You can go back and look at old match footage, and it looks very scary for Seth because he just gets hit by something random and all of a sudden he's dead. But if we look at this old footage of SF4, I feel like people made a lot more mistakes. People don't make mistakes like that anymore. The play has gotten a lot cleaner, so I feel like health is not as big of a downside in the fully developed game as it was, you know, when the game was still new and people were still trying to figure things out. And his other big problem, no 3-frame normal. So, you know, characters like Balrog, Ryu, Chun-Li, a lot of characters have 3-frame jabs. Seth does not. His jabs are all 4 frames or slower. Close heavy punch as well is 4 frames. So in situations where, you know, some characters might be even, they're actually like could be considered +1, so they still have advantage even when they're even if they have a 3-frame attack and he doesn't. But he does have SPD is 3 frames, so that's something. But I think even more important is just his DP. It doesn't matter if he doesn't have a 3-frame move because he's just going to DP through anyway. And, you know, he obviously builds so much meter when he's doing stuff like this that he's going to have enough meter for DP FADC a lot of the time. So whenever he's scared of getting frame trapped, just DP FADC instead and you'll be totally fine. So the lack of a 3-framer, it hurts, but it's not the end of the world by any means. And by the way, Sagat has a 3-frame jab. Why did they think this is fair? That one of the biggest, most damaging characters in the game also gets a 3-frame jab, which Seth doesn't. I mean, okay, that might be a little bit unfair, but let's take it back to the original question here. Who's better, Vanilla Seth or Vanilla Sagat, right? Vanilla Sagat is definitely a lot easier, right? Vanilla Sagat is very forgiving. He's the highest damage character. He also has high health, high stun. And whenever you get scared, you can just DP FADC and just deal massive damage on hit, stay safe on block. So Sagat is definitely easier, right? Seth, I think it took longer for people to figure out the character. He's very unforgiving because he dies in just a couple hits. You really have to kind of play perfect with Vanilla Seth to win. And I think that is how it played out when people were actually playing Vanilla. Keep in mind, this game was played for like less than a year because Super Street Fighter 4 came out and changed up all the balance. Sagat got nerfed a lot and stuff like that. Seth got nerfed as well in Super. So we didn't play this version of the game for that long, so I feel like people didn't really have time to play Vanilla Seth to his maximum degree. I think that if we took players like Punko with everything that they had developed in terms of the offensive nature of Seth, that's what really came about later in the game in AE. If we took that and combined it with Seth having these ridiculous zoning moves and him having that really broken and ridiculous fireball ultra trap, I think all of those things together, I honestly do believe that Seth would have been better than Sagat. But what do you guys think? Do you think I'm crazy? Definitely the low health makes him difficult to play, but I just feel like he's too powerful, man. He's too powerful, but I guess we'll never know because even Capcom knew that they had to do something with this. They basically reworked the entire character. They got rid of a lot of his stuff. They gave him more health so that he could play more like a normal character, be a little less broken, but have more health and not just be this super overpowered character that dies in 2 hits. So I don't know. Despite all of this complaining about how overpowered Seth was, I think he was a really interesting design, and I feel like Capcom learned a lot from making him. So yeah, I think he's a fun little journey down memory lane. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and let me know who your favorite Seth player is. I would love to hear it. But with that, we're going to end the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.